Hello, my name is Eddie. I am an adult services librarian here at Warren-Newport Public Library, and we are here tonight to talk about password strength, security, and management options. Before we get started, we always want to do a quick thank you to our friends of the Warren-Newport Public Library. Their fundraising through the Bookend store, through their quarterly sales, and through their fundraising events helps to fund all of the library's programming. They really do bring in a lot of support for the library, and it's because of them that we can do stuff like this. Always, your feedback is super important to how we do programming, what kind of programming that we do. We really take your recommendations seriously. So we have a couple drop boxes at the library. If you're ever in here and you want to make a suggestion or mention if you like something or if you'd like to see something else, please do that. You can always email us. You can always use the Ask Us function on our website. We really take that seriously. So thank you, everybody. Again, my name is Eddie. I'm an adult services librarian here at Warren-Newport Public Library, and we are talking about password safety and security. Just to get started, one of our values as librarians is privacy. Even before computers came along, we as a profession cared deeply about the privacy of your information, your accounts, the privacy that you deserve when reading materials or checking out materials, and just your privacy as a member of the informed public. So that's our commitment to your privacy, which is why we're doing this program, why we care about your password security as librarians. We want you to have all the privacy and intellectual freedom to read, write, interact, and engage online that privacy and anonymity provides. If your passwords aren't strong, you're going to risk losing your money, you're risking losing your access and your online identity, which is more and more important these days. So even if it seems like a chore to do this work, please understand that it's an investment not only in our library safety, but also your own digital life going forward. It's a good exercise to get these things stronger and prepared for whatever might happen in this strange and wonderful and sometimes frightening world of the World Wide Web. One of our other key values is access, meaning we don't want to make it harder for y'all to get the information and communication you need, just like we don't want to make it harder for you guys to come in and find the information that you want off our shelves. So we're going to, do more than just explain security, but we're going to give you some tips and tricks to make your passwords more strong and more memorable as well. So without further ado, let's get into the subject. We're going to run through three main points of the presentation, and that is password security, part one. Part two is password strength, so how to build a password that is strong and hard to crack, and then password management, which again is that element of accessibility. We want you guys to be able to remember your passwords. We don't want to make it so good and so strong that even you can't remember it, which I've done in the past, and it's easy to do. So a password is only as strong as just you can get into it. So let's start with password security. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll understand the risks of a weak password, know how to build a strong password, and have some really good strategies for remembering and recovering passwords. So starting with part one, password security. So I'm a little bit of a history nerd, as people who have been to my programs in the past will know. So I can't just talk about password security without talking a little bit about the history behind things like passwords. I don't want to get too technical, but I think it's interesting. In general, when we talk about password security, we're talking about something called cryptography and cryptanalysis. Now, cryptography is the art of writing and solving codes. That's the definition of cryptography. Cryptanalysis, however, is defined as the decryption and analysis of codes, ciphers, and encrypted text. So cryptanalysis uses mathematical formulas to search for algorithmic vulnerabilities and break into cryptography or information security systems. So cryptography is the setting of the password. Cryptanalysis is the breaking of the password or the testing of its strength. This has been both a game and a profession for millennia. So we have always been setting codes, and we've always been trying to break codes. If you think about it, chess is cryptography and cryptanalysis. One person has a setup that they want to do for defense, and then the other person has to figure out what their strategy is so that they can break into it. The earliest known use of cryptography is found in non-standard hieroglyphs in circa 1900 BC, which I think is absolutely fascinating. So 1900 BC, it's in the old kingdom of Egypt. It was uncovered in a tomb. It's just fascinating stuff. There have been clay tablets from Mesopotamia that are somewhat later, which were clearly meant to protect information. One dated near 1500 BC was found to encrypt a craftsman's recipe for pottery glaze, which was presumably very commercially valuable. So we've always wanted to protect our information, protect our intellectual property, protect our livelihood by putting things behind a code that we know that other people wouldn't. Cryptanalysis. Also one more thing. Hebrew scholars made use of a simple monoalphabetic substitution cipher in 600 to 500 BC, and those things were recently displayed at the Public History Museum in Milwaukee. I believe they're gone now, but those were absolutely fascinating. I went up to look at them, and yeah, it's the same sort of thing that we're using now. We don't want people to break our passwords, so we use maybe one letter off. We use maybe some symbols instead of numbers just to make it a little bit more complicated and a little bit harder to crack. So we've always kind of been doing this, and yes, things are more complicated, but it's part of the human condition, and we're working towards making it strong and sustainable. Cryptanalysis, so the art of breaking into a password, comes in many forms. They kind of resemble chess moves, like I said. There's black bag cryptanalysis, there's man-in-the-middle attacks, there's power analysis, replay attacks, rubber hose cryptanalysis, timing analysis. It's like chess, except in modernity, there is a lot of money and power to be stolen and a lot of tools to be used to crack into passwords. There are many ways that your password could be attacked, and it's only become easier as our computers have gotten stronger. So we're going to go through some ways that your info gets compromised. And hopefully just by learning about these, it will make you think about some of the habits that you might have had, or some of the ways that your passwords are currently insufficient or needing to be changed or updated. So just a quick list, and we'll go through these one at a time. Ways that your info gets compromised. The first one is automated password cracking. There's guessing passwords, which is pretty much self-explanatory. There are keyloggers, which we'll talk about a little bit more. Secondary account hacks, shoulder surfing, not keeping a clean desk, intermingling personal and professional devices, phishing, data breaches and data dumps, and malicious verification code requests. I'll be making sure to send a download of these slides as well as the recording to this session in case you want this information. But these are some of the things that we're just about to talk about in ways that your password can be compromised or hacked. So getting started, the first one is automatic password cracking. Software has made it possible to run exponentially more combinations than ever before, which is why we need to have passwords that have combinations that make them exponentially more unique. The following passwords are at different levels of crackable by automated software. So essentially what that means is if your password is so weak that a computer can literally try any combination to get to it eventually, you need it to be way more powerful. So I have a couple examples down there, and I'll show you in a little bit of a way to test your passwords to see how long a computer would have to run combinations until it finds your combination. But I tested these against that system, and this is what it came up with. So if my password is just my first name and a 1, it takes 0.012 seconds for a computer to try all the possible combinations by the most reasonable combinations before they get to that and they're let into my account. A couple reasons. Well, it's my name. It makes the most sense, and it's an easy number to attach on there. It doesn't really make it any stronger, but a computer is going to try my name. It's going to try a bunch of different things until it gets to Eddie 1. It doesn't take that long, 0.012 seconds. I can make it a little stronger. I could put my full name and there's a capital letter in there. That helps a little bit. I can put the year that I was born and a couple special characters. So Eddie 1991, $! Exclamation point. That takes a computer 5.84 minutes. Now, if it's, if I'm not super important, that might be enough to deter most automatic password cracking hackers, but I'm still not super comfortable. So let's take away my name, take away something that's identifiable and easy about me. So we're not going to use my name. We're not going to use the year I was born. And we're going to do something that I can remember. So it's, my city, Chicago. But I'm going to take out the O before the G, and I'm going to replace it with a 0. so that the computer would have to take a little longer to figure out all the combinations before they realize that I did that. I put an underscore in, I changed the year I was born to the first 3 letters of my first address when I moved out from home, and I still use the special characters, and boom, all of a sudden, the amount of time that a computer would have to try random passwords before they get to mine has changed from 5.84 minutes to 32,000 years. So I feel pretty comfortable about that. And we'll do something later where I'll let you guys give me some combinations in the chat, and I'll send them through the algorithm, and we'll show you how that calculates everything. So basically, you want to know what password combinations make it really hard for a computer to just continually run through numbers until it finds it. I'd rather have mine at 32,000 years than 0.012 seconds. Another way is just guessing passwords. If your password is so easy to hack, there's going to be random people just trying random things to get into your accounts. So if you have a really common password like 12345 or password or QWERTY, or 11111, not only is a computer able to hack that really, really fast because it's going to run through those common passwords, somebody could just sit down at a computer and try random things. I also recommend not using your first and last name, not using anything that's really identifiable about you. We'll talk about having a clean desk later to make sure that you don't have something that's just sitting on your desk, or just something that's so identifiable about you, and then you use that as a password. Like, my favorite color is green. My favorite team is the Chicago Cubs. I'm not going to use green or Chicago Cubs as my password, because that's the first sort of thing that somebody with malicious intent is going to try typing in if they know me, or if that information is immediately accessible about me online. So make sure that your password is not so easy that they can just sit down and guess it. Again, these are the most common passwords, and so a lot of people are using these passwords. And if this is common knowledge, it's pretty easy to hack into their accounts. This one's a little bit more complicated, and this is a really interesting thing that's somewhat frightening, and it's a really good reminder to not download anything unknown, to not open any unknown emails, because this is called keystroke logging. Keystroke logging is the act of tracking and recording every keystroke on your device, often without permission or the knowledge of the user, through the use of malicious hardware or software. So keystroke logging happens when you download something onto your device that takes a track of every button that's pressed. So obviously your phone knows what buttons you're pushing because it knows what to do. But if you have the software or something downloaded on your phone through malware, or if somebody downloads something on your device by sending you a malicious email or hacking into your device, they can basically track what buttons you press when you log into your devices. So you think that you're only talking to your device, but another person's listening and writing down what you say, essentially. With our increasingly digital lives, we share a lot of sensitive information on our devices, and that includes passwords and access information. And that's why people download keystroke loggers onto devices. So it's just like a virus. It's just like a Trojan horse. It's something that comes into your computer through a secondary system, an email, if you download the wrong app from your app store. I know that for a while there, somebody caught somebody using a keystroke logger through a flashlight app. So people were downloading a flashlight app on the app store, and it came with a keystroke logger, and their information was being stolen because it was just hidden within the app. So make sure that you only download trusted things. Make sure you only open trusted emails, because a keystroke logger could be downloaded on your device, and it sends the information that you're putting into your phone, which includes your passwords. They can get into your information that way. So it's really important to, regularly check the hygiene of your devices, make sure that you are, running malware, keeping track of your device and changing your password often. Any questions about keystroke loggers? I'll open up the chat real quick. Secondary account hacks are another way that people can get into your information. This is becoming more common because we have more and more accounts. So let's say I have a really strong password for my McDonald's app. Don't laugh. I really like their deals on fries. It's the only way that you get a 99-cent drink anymore is by using their app. So I set that one up really, really strong because I know that they have my credit card information and I intensely value my French fry access. But when I forget my password for the McDonald's app, I send a password reset to my email address, right? So let's say my McDonald's app password is really strong, but my email address is really weak. All somebody would have to do is hack into my email and then send a recovery option from the McDonald's app to my email. And then they have access to both accounts. So you want to make sure that you don't have a weak, a weak account anywhere in your recovery line. All of your passwords have to be updated regularly. All of your passwords have to be strong because you're going to have them linked like that. So you don't want to have a weak recovery account for a strong password. Your accounts are only as strong as your recovery accounts. So make sure that your Gmail account, your Yahoo account, wherever your password recovery information is going to, is especially strong. You don't want somebody eating fries on your dime. Any questions about secondary account hacks? Shoulder surfing. This one sounds paranoid, but we need to be aware of who's watching us when we use or communicate our password information. If our password is simple enough for somebody who's watching the keys that we're pressing from over our shoulder, they could easily use it to infiltrate our devices and our accounts. This applies to pins and any sensitive information that we could potentially expose to people who we are visually accessible to. I've stopped plenty of people here at the library because they're talking to somebody, they're doing important business, and suddenly they're reciting their credit card number over their phone and they forget where they are. They forget that they're in public. They don't know who could be watching. I've stopped myself when I've been on CTA and I've been taking the red line down to Wrigley Field, and I realize that I'm signing into my accounts and anybody could be looking over my shoulder. We just need to have our situational awareness, make sure that our passwords are super strong, make sure maybe we use thumbprint instead of pin on our phones, that sort of thing, because if we're careless, it could be really easy for somebody just to look over our shoulder, watch us type something in, or listen to us while we're giving information over the phone. Make sure you know who you're CCing if you're sending sensitive information over emails. But this is a surprisingly prevalent way that people compromise their passwords, is shoulder surfing. So if you need to cover your phone with your hand while you type in your password, if you just need to make sure that, especially if you're using a device in the public, make sure your computer's facing the wall. All of these things are just really good for our digital hygiene. So I mentioned before a clean desk. A clean desk is a habit that we all need to have, especially if we're working in public, especially if we have a desk in a busy office. We all like to think that we can trust our coworkers, but there's always going to be people who are in and out of a public business, especially one like the library or a coffee shop, or if your office if your office building has multiple different organizations within it and several contractors and stuff. You just need to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe. So I have some cyber risk from employee bad habits here on the left, and we can go through a couple of them. An unattended screen that is logged into an email is a particularly bad one. Make sure that if you step away from a desk, if you're occupying an office or if you're having people in your home, make sure you leave your screen locked, because that lock will keep people out of your email. It will just be a deterrence from anybody sitting down. But if you have something that's visibly open, that's going to be an attraction. More people than you realize leave Post-it notes with passwords on their monitors. And then the secondary location would be a Post-it note under your keyboard. It's the first place most people check. Full pages of sensitive information sticking out of a garbage can. Photos of pets with their names on it, honeymoon photos with a location identifiable, or stickers of your alma mater or sports team. Those can only be problematic if you have your passwords or your password recovery questions related to those things that are visible. We'll talk about password recovery in a little bit. Don't leave your smartphones left open, especially if you use double authentication, because then somebody could just send a password recovery to your phone and then let themselves into your device. And any visible sensitive letters or paperwork, those things are really easy to figure out how to get into your accounts from. So don't leave any printouts, any flash drives open, smartphones open, Post-it notes on your desktop. We work really hard at the library to keep clean desks. This is something that I preach to my coworkers, my colleagues, people who are just coming into library school, is that we need to protect patron information and we need to protect our information. So this is something we go through regularly. As silly as it might sound, everybody gets careless at times, so we got to keep our digital hygiene up. So this is an example that I set up for my colleagues, and I had them look at it for a little while, and I had them identify all the potential issues. So go ahead, if you see any issues, just toss it in the chat right now from any of the things that I talked about earlier. Hopefully it's coming in nice and clear on your screens. Does anybody see anything glaringly bad about this desk setup? Yes, Nick, open file drawer, absolutely. Suzanne, yep, papers under the portfolio. Yeah, Julie, the photo of the honeymoon, the travel picture to Paris. Yeah, Suzanne, the sticky note on the laptop. You might not be able to see it there, but that's a comically large fake social security card under the laptop as well. I really went hammy with it so that they would get everything. But yeah, I mean, this looks like a normal desk, but if somebody has malicious intent, they could be grabbing papers out of my portfolio. They could be rifling through the drawer. They can be inputting the passwords that are on or under the keyboard. They could be trying my recovery questions by the photo from Paris. I've got the Cubs bobblehead there. All of this could be an invitation for somebody to at least try to get into your accounts. So make sure that you leave a clean and tidy desk, make sure that you have situational awareness, and it'll all be a lot safer. So there's some of the problems there. Good work, everybody. Thanks for participating. So another thing is intermingling personal and professional devices. There's a couple reasons why this is tough. If you have devices, from work and personal, your hygiene is going to be, strong on one or weak on the other. And if they're connected, then all somebody needs to do is break into the weaker one. So obviously, I might have a lot more, I might have a lot more, concern over my work computer because it has a lot of information that's sensitive, stuff that I don't want to compromise people's information, my information. I might be a little bit more cavalier when it comes to my phone because all I use it for is Facebook. But as soon as I log into my work email from my phone that one time, boom, it's connected. And then, so I need to recognize that if I need to intermingle my personal and professional devices, that I'm keeping the same level of password strength, security, and digital hygiene for both of them. If any of our devices are connected to personal accounts to compromise via breach or theft, that means there's a possibility that your work passwords can be stolen or vice versa from intermingling your devices. So be conscious of, things that are connected in that way. Phishing. Now this one is a pain. Have you ever received an email that seems like it's from a legitimate coworker or company or organization, but they're telling you that you need to click on a shady link? Boom, you're one click away from being the victim of a phishing scam. So these things can look really deadly. They can say, hey, we're from Amazon and there's a problem with your account. We need you to click on this link, or we need you to call this number, or we need you to send us your credit card information because we're trying to update your subscriptions and we don't want you to lose access. You click on it or you send them that information and you're in trouble. A lot of these can look really, 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 legitimate too. So there's a few things that you got to look for to make sure that things are phishing. Don't be checking your email carelessly or casually. But if you click on a phishing link, there's a possibility that it could lock you out of your computer. There's a possibility that, the software that they're using is strong enough that will let them into your accounts and lock you out of your accounts. Sometimes, these malware attacks can, hold your information hostage from you and only give it back to you if you pay them money or Bitcoin. It's a nightmare. So make sure that you're really careful with the links that you click on, with the messages that you receive. Make sure you're checking, if somebody's pretending to be a family member or if somebody's pretending to be a coworker, make sure you verify that it's from their email address and not from a different email address. If Amazon's sending you a suspicious link, make sure that you can always delete it and go check Amazon yourself. Make sure that things are coming from their proprietary email addresses and not Amazon@gmail.com. Amazon doesn't use Gmail. I had one of my coworkers actually whipped up a fake phishing account just to show people in the library how real it can look. And it took them about 5 minutes to do it, to make it look like it was really professional, and it was from eBay, and it was really legitimate looking. And the only reason it took 5 minutes is that they spent 4 minutes trying to figure out an eBay Gmail address that they could get so that they can send it so it looked like it was from eBay. And it took them 4 minutes because so many people had already done fake Gmail addresses from eBay, so they had to try different combinations until they found one that's free. So that was frightening. So make sure that you're very careful with what you click on, because that can compromise your password safety and security. So again, here's a phishing example. On the left here, it says it's from Amazon. It says payment temporarily disabled. Click on this link to update your payment information, and you can see all of the problems here on the right. They misspelled assistant. They didn't use your name. They used poor grammar. There's the phishing link. There's the change of tone. There's the deadlines and threats. Over here on the left, you can see that it didn't come from Amazon. It came from this long list of numbers at sualeslugas.com. It's all sorts of problems with this. So make sure that you're being very careful with things that you click on, especially that come from emails that are slightly suspicious like that. Another way that your passwords can get compromised are data breaches. Now, this one's hard because there's really nothing that you can do other than just never use accounts. Data breaches, some of them are more infamous than others, but they happen all the time. And it's hard to say that we as consumers could have judiciously avoided it, because data breaches happen to gigantic, heavily trafficked, and widely trusted companies. The way that you prevent breaches from affecting you is by changing your password regularly, making sure that your password expires and that you change it when it expires. So some of the bigger data breaches that have happened: we had Yahoo in 2014 and 2017, LinkedIn in 2012 and 2021, Facebook in 2018 and 2019. If you stayed at a Marriott before 2018, your information got hacked. If you used Twitter before 2018, your information got exposed. So chances are, if we've used Experian, Adobe, MyFitnessPal, Equifax, eBay, Canva, Capital One, Quora, Uber, Home Depot, and Twitch, which I've used a lot of them, your data has been breached at one point or another. And the only way that you can really handle this is by changing your password regularly, so that the password that was exposed in the data breach is no longer your password. So make sure that we're going to talk about setting new passwords, and we're going to talk about changing your password regularly in a way that's easy enough to remember, so that you're not trying 12 different passwords because you can't remember which one you're using then. And then the last one is malicious verification code requests. So sometimes you'll get prompted to put in your password when you're not trying to log into anything. This is somebody who's just phishing for your information. Sometimes you'll get a pop-up if you click on a link, or sometimes you're redirected and they're asking you to log in, or they're asking you to log into your email, and they're just sending you things that you didn't request. These malicious verification quests can look legitimate, but they can steal your information simply by asking for it. So emails and text messages claiming to send or require verification codes can in fact give that code to an outside source, granting them all access to your information and your account and any information connected to it. So make sure that you're only clicking on verification quests that you've sent. So don't be verifying anything unless you instigate that verification. So hopefully, after all of this, you're properly aware of some of the ways that someone could compromise your password. I went through a bunch, but do me a favor and just write down a couple that you are most concerned about and feel the most vulnerable to. We're going to move into ways that you can foil these attempts with strong passwords and good account management. But again, you want to make sure that you're attacking the things that you're most concerned about. So tell yourself, hey, I am really, concerned because I haven't changed my password in 3 years, and I've definitely used Twitter, and I've definitely used Marriott, and I've definitely used Home Depot. So I'm concerned about data hacks. Or write down, hey, I'm concerned about phishing because I get a lot of emails and I tend to not know the difference between a real one and a fake one. So write down the ones that are most concerning to you. You can write them in the chat or just write down for yourself so you can work on it later. But I think it helps to identify our weaknesses and really shore those up. And speaking of that, unless we have any questions, we're going to move into the more hopeful side of this now that I've hopefully not depressed and scared you too much with all the ways that our passwords can be hacked. We'll move into password strength, but I'll pause for a second if anybody has any questions. Mila, how do you check if a Keystroke app is on your phone? So depending on what kind of phone you have, there should be a way that you can run a systems check and regularly delete any apps that you're not using, regularly delete any apps that are acting strangely. Do not accept any emails that you didn't ask for. Don't click on any suspicious links, but generally just run a systems check on your phone and delete any apps that are running slowly or showing up as suspicious. You can run malware checks. You can run, trusted cleaning stuff like Norton or antivirus or that sort of thing, and they can find malicious things like Keystroke apps. Nick, how can we best determine if a website is secure and legitimate? It depends on what kind of website you're looking at. You just have to use your context clues. So is it a known website? Is it, is the URL correct? Is the website correct up at the top of the screen? Does it say Amazon.com or does it say something else? Because it might be pretending to be Amazon, but if the URL doesn't say Amazon.com, if the email doesn't say Amazon.com, then it's not Amazon. Check for little context clues like I showed you in the phishing example, like misspellings, like grammar, like weird tone. If Amazon's not going to send you an email threatening you, but a phisher might, just to scare you, make you feel vulnerable. You can always, make sure that if your computer is running slowly, because after you go to a website, that's a good indication that there's potentially something wrong. You can always check, just make sure that your digital hygiene is strong and that you're not clicking on anything suspicious. URLs, email addresses, any pop-ups or fake links, like if a website wants you to click on a bunch of stuff that takes you away from the website, that's a bad sign. Make sure the website's up to date. Make sure you can do some research on your own to see if their security and privacy standards are up to date. Check and see if they've had any breaches or hacks recently. But again, that's hard because, you would have thought that like Twitter for all of its users would have the best, or Target would have the best, but we got to look out for ourselves and regularly change our passwords as well. All right. If there's no more questions, you can save them for the end, or you can put them in the chat and I can answer them later, but let's move on to password strength. So we've talked about a lot of ways that passwords can get compromised. Here's how we make them strong. So again, this is kind of the Swiss cheese method, right? No one way is going to be the best way. No one way is going to be the perfect way. But if we stack these, security methods on top of each other, and we make sure that we use security methods that are complementary to each other and accessible for us, you end up with a pretty strong password. So the elements of a strong password are as follows: lowercase letters, a combination of uppercase letters, numbers, special characters. They say that the best is between 12 and 15 characters. And that's just because that's the most characters that most people can remember and quickly type in without, making it inaccessible for you or hard to remember. So 12 to 15 characters. Do not use your own name or your family names, and don't use any personally identifiable information such as addresses, pets, interests, fandoms, etc. So you can see over here on the left, we have how much time it takes to brute force your password. So auto hacking, auto cracking, like we talked about in the first method of, an unsecure password, is when your computer when a hacking computer basically just tries all the various possible combinations of a password until it gets it right. So, if you have 4 characters, numbers only, it's going to be instant. But once you get into 9, 10, 11, 12 characters, a combination of lowercase and uppercase, some numbers and some symbols, you're getting up into those points where it's going to be not worth it for a computer to brute force hack your password. Because just the combinations are too many. They're hard for a computer to get. They're impossible for somebody to just sit down and guess. And again, if you change it regularly, it can even foil those data breaches. It can foil keyword loggers, keystroke loggers. It can foil phishing scams. So that combination of making sure that you have a strong password and that you change it regularly on a rotation is really powerful. So how are some ways that you can create a strong and unique password for every account? This is one way that I really like to recommend. You don't want to use the same password for every account, because if one of them gets hacked, then they're all hacked. But you can use a variation of the same password for every account, and then you can use it on a rotation. So create a strong base password that will be used with each password. So this example up here is you have a 7, an asterisk, a D, a capital L, an E, I, capital K, and then the hash mark. So then for every different account, you just use the initials for the account on the end or on the beginning, or sandwich on either side. So for Facebook, you can use your base password and then add FB. So this is easily to remember. So you remember your base password, and then you know exactly what account you're logging in. You don't need to remember that. Just tack that onto the end. And you can also do this if you change your password regularly by just using, so one way that you could do it is you can use the month, or you can use, 1 or 2 or 3, however many passwords that you have in the rotation, and then reset after 10. So like, let's say you change your password every 3 months and you want to change your password starting in January. So you can put Jan or JAN and then 7 and then your base password and then FB for Facebook. Or you can put J for January, or you could put 1 for the first month of the year. And then, to remember your password, all you have to do is remember what month it is and what account you're going in, and then you use your base password. So this is a really strong way that you can, use the same password for every account, but make it just different enough that one breach doesn't mean all of your accounts are breached. And then if you change it every 3 months, then you can use the month that it is. You can use, the name of whoever's birthday is in that month that and then if you're having a hard time remembering it, remember last time you changed your password was this month or last month, you just include that information as well. Does that make sense? Any questions about this sort of rotation method? Again, that makes sure that you can use the same base password with slight variations, so that you're not compromising all of your passwords, and then you can change it regularly without changing it so dramatically that you can't remember. But also, it changes it just enough so that if you have a keystroke logger, they don't have that information anymore. Or if you've been in a data breach, they don't have that information anymore. So you do want to change your password regularly. I recommend every 3 months or so. That way you're changing it, 3-4 times a year, so that these data breaches don't affect you. Just make sure that you're not using somebody. If somebody could break the code on that one and then just move around the order for the other accounts until those break, again, but that's a lot of work. So you can vary it up a little bit, but you still don't want to make it so strong that you can't get into your own accounts. So we'll talk about password managers in a little bit, and that one's really nice because those can auto-generate passwords for you. But until somebody wants to use a password manager or pay for a password manager service, this is just a recommendation for how to maybe keep your password strong and keep it, from getting compromised, but in a way that you yourself can remember as well. Any other questions about the rotation method? And again, your base password should still be strong. It should still be a combination of all those things we saw in the last slide. Lowercase letters, uppercase letters, numbers, characters, 12 to 15 total, no self or family names, no personally identifiable information, including addresses, pets. If you're a big Batman fan and everybody knows that you're a Batman fan, don't use Dark Knight, that sort of thing. Passphrases. Now, this is another way that you can remember your password easily. Yeah, so Julie, your base password can be used on many accounts as long as you change it just slightly. So if you use your base password and then you add something to indicate it for, if you want to use your base password and then add something that has to do with that account, then, it's different, but then you can still remember your base password. So if your base password is strong and then you add, a number, or if you add, some kind of character related to that account. So let's say you're logging into McDonald's, you've got your McDonald's app, you use your base word password and then you use MCD for McDonald's, or M or fries or something like that. That's easy to remember on top of your base password. That means it's stronger, so that if somebody hacks into your Burger King app, because you clicked on a link, or because Burger King got compromised, they don't automatically have your McDonald's app and your Facebook page and your Gmail account, because each one of those is slightly different. And again, Suzanne makes a really good point, but the only way that you can remember it sometimes is just making it slightly different, so that it's a little harder for them to hack into, that they can't auto hack it, and that you change it regularly as well. So passphrases, as opposed to passwords, can be easier to remember while remaining stronger and conveniently used across sites with slight variations. So a passphrase is something like, this is my favorite sandwich in the world. And then you reduce it down to the first letter of each of those sentences. So TIMFSITW. And that's really easy for you to remember, because you sit down at your computer and you say to yourself, this is my favorite sandwich in the world, and type it in. You can change it just slightly to make sure that it's strong. So add a couple capitals in there. Remember which ones are capitalized. You can capitalize, I think in this example, they did this and favorite. They changed the I to a 1. They changed the S to a $, and then they added a B for banking, or an F for Facebook. And so it's really easy to remember because you start with the passphrase. But at the same time, nobody who's trying to hack you is thinking, oh, they're going to use a combination of this is my favorite sandwich in the world. You can use a combination of things that are important to you. And, because it's a passphrase, because it's been reduced down to an acronym, it's going to be a lot harder for people to glean it off of your personal information. It's going to be a lot harder for a computer to auto hack it, because it's not a normal word. They're going to try every word in the dictionary before they're going to try a random, combination of letters. And passphrases are, again, they're easy to remember. You can use a passphrase and then a special character if you don't want to really make it, intrinsic within the word itself. But I find that passphrases can be really easy to remember, especially if you're changing them regularly, because the passphrase could spell out, the last time you changed your password, or it could be unique to the time of year, or it could be unique to the account that it has, but then it's reduced down to a phrase. You can use the whole phrase, and then you can, Nick, lyrics to a song, the title of a favorite book. That's perfect. A lot of people will use the title to their favorite book, and then they'll remove all the vowels. So that can be a strong password that is really hard for people to crack, because it's not a regular word. It's not something a computer will come up to, and you can change it pretty regularly to, between 3 or 4 options, and then add a little bit of, characters, and then add something specific to the account that you're using. So your base password can be your passphrase, that is the lyrics to a song reduced down to an acronym, or with vowels removed, or with the consonants removed, that sort of thing. I find passphrases, it's not my cup of tea, but a lot of people really like using a passphrase because it's easier to remember. And if you do need to have it written down somewhere, you can write it down as the full phrase, and people still won't be able to crack it. Any more questions about creating a password before we move on to a little bit of password accessibility? So we have the elements of a strong password. We have creating a strong and unique password for every account that can be changed regularly, but still remembered by using a base password. And then we have the example of passphrases. right, we'll move on to password accessibility then. Well, actually, let's go ahead and stop. I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second here. And as promised, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it looks like to test the strength of your password. Now, there's a couple tools that you can use to test the strength of your password. I like to use a website called Password Monster, and I will show you exactly what that looks like right here. So this is Password Monster. You should be all seeing my browser screen right now. Password Monster just tests the strength and security of your password. Can somebody put in the chat that they see the Password Monster screen? Thank you. Excellent. So this is how to test a password. So let's show you guys what I said before. So let's try just my name and a 1 and how quickly the computer can crack that password. Put my name and 1. 0.03 seconds. Boy, is that weak. And then let's go ahead and put in a capital and then 1. Well, that doesn't add much. But then if we add a special character like a $, that's a little better. Then let's add a couple more letters. That's even better. And then let's add, instead of the I in my name, a 1. Now we're up to 2 hours. But again, it's still pretty obviously my name and identifiable numbers to me. So let's make it that full strength, 12 to 15 characters, no personally identifiable information. $417 years. Pretty cool, right? Does anybody want to test out something? Don't put your actual password or anything you intend to use, but let's test out a couple. Throw something in the chat and I'll put it in the password test. And again, this is passwordmonster.com. I'll put the link if anybody wants to use it. Can Password Monster steal your password? There is a chance. Password Monster is an education system that is meant to help you increase your password strength and your digital hygiene. I've worked with them before. I do trust them, but you want to be sure that you make sure that you do, only use what you something that's been verified. So I wouldn't actually put my password or a password that I intend to use in here just in case they get breached. But it's good to see, what a computer says the strength of your password is based on the elements that you put in there. Does anybody want to try to stump the password? Oh yeah, make sure it's a legitimate website before you test it. All right, Suzanne's gonna hazard a go. We had a competition to see who could come up with the strongest password in my department here at the library, and somebody hit like 2 billion years. Oh, there we go, Suzanne. That's an 18th century password. That's pretty fantastic. I hope we last that long as a civilization. But again, make sure that your password has to be that strong, but also memorable. Well done. Does anybody want to try to beat Suzanne on Password Monster? Yes. So basically, it'll be just like letters. So if you use, the difference between, if I use the word window versus fenêtre, in French, it's going to be treated the same because computers can pretty easily search, glossaries and dictionaries. But, if you use a word that's broken up, it's going to be a lot harder to brute force through the computer. All right, Nick's gonna give it a go. So the time to beat is 18th centuries. Let's do it. Oh, Nick. Well done. 2 million years. So you can see, again, the strength difference between 18th centuries and 2 million years for a user's point of view is not that big a deal, but I think it's pretty cool. Well done. I just think it's fun. It's good to see what a computer says is different. Nick used, Suzanne used some really good capital letters. Nick used a really good mix of special characters. And again, those things in and of themselves, are a lot harder to brute hack than anything else. So if we add a number on there, actually, let's see, 75 million years. So it goes from 2 million to 75 million years if we add one number on there. All right, let's get back to my slides and we'll move on to password accessibility. We'll talk a little bit about password managers, which can be very, very helpful if you're willing to find one that you trust, and sometimes if you're willing to put up with the cost of a password manager. So password accessibility, but before we talk about password managers, let's talk about password recovery. So let's say you have a strong password, you're changing it regularly, but again, you don't want to have that secondary account hack because you have a weak password recovery, or because you haven't set up a password recovery. You want to make sure that your password recovery is just as strong as your password is. Generally too, you want your password recovery to prompt you to reset your password. It doesn't just let you into your account if you answer these questions. You want to reset your password so that you can start fresh, right? You don't want anybody to just be able to answer your questions and then get in. So to start with, double authentication is when you use a secondary device to help yourself into your account. Now you can use double authentication in a complement to your password. So like instead of using double authentication to recover your password, you can use double authentication as a secondary security site to your password. So if you type in your password, I think Gmail is requiring double authentication to sign on to a new device. So if you've never signed on to a device, and this is very frustrating to our patrons because they'll come down, they'll sit down at a computer and they'll try to sign into their Gmail, and it will require them to send a text to their phone to let them into the device. Now, a lot of people are frustrated with that, but it really is helpful to make sure that nobody can hack into your device, into your account from a different device. So double authentication with a password is you type in your password, you have a strong password, and then beyond the password, you have to tap a button on your phone or they'll send you a text on your phone. Double authentication with your password is something that I recommend, especially for things like banking, especially for things like your email that is going to be used as a recovery email for other accounts. Again, it's just like the Swiss cheese method. Every method, even on double authentication, even a password is really strong, but when you put them together, that really eliminates those weaknesses. You can use double authentication for password recovery. So if you're using double authentication for password recovery, make sure that you have it on your phone. So if you ever switch phones and switch numbers, make sure that your phone is deactivated, destroy that SIM card so that nobody else can get into your authentication just because they have your SIM card and you haven't deactivated your phone. Make sure that you never leave your phone unlocked so that nobody can just walk up and use your phone to get into an account. And make sure that you charge your phone regularly. So when you do need to get into an account, you don't have a dead phone with you. As far as recovery questions go, you want to choose something that is not searchable about you. So you don't want to use your address. You don't want to use something that can be found about you on social media. You don't want to use something that somebody could just Google your name and find. You don't want to use known information about you that is common knowledge or somebody could ask something about you, and you don't want it to be deductible. So you don't want somebody to just like that Clean Desk showed, that you had your honeymoon in a specific place. So a lot of recovery questions are, where did you have your honeymoon? Or what is your favorite sports team? You don't want to use something that's that obvious. You also don't want to use something that's going to change. So what is your favorite song? That's going to change. What is your favorite food? That might change as well. It hasn't for me. I like church potatoes. But again, you don't want it to be something that is going to change, but you also don't want it to be common knowledge. So what is your oldest cousin's first name? What is your oldest sibling's middle name? What was your first car's make and model? What was the name of your favorite teacher? these are the sort of things, assuming that you're done with school, assuming that, you're not going to discover a long lost oldest cousin, which is impractical, improbable. These are some things that you're going to remember. That's not going to be common knowledge or searchable about you, and that isn't going to change with time. Anybody have any questions about password recovery? The more recovery questions that you can pick, if you have the option, the better. So if they say set up, anywhere between 1 and 3, set up all 3. All right, let's move on to recommended password managers. So there's a lot of password managers. I wanted to highlight 3 specific ones. That is KeePass, LastPass, and 1Password. There's a lot of examples of password managers out there. I can list off a few. Make sure you do your own research. NordPass is one that I've used before. There's new ones every year. There's competing ones. There's different types of password managers. There's password managers like Norton that you could download onto your computer, and it's usable on one device, or it's usable across devices. There are password managers that are specific to your browser, so you can download them as browser extensions. Zoho Vault, RoboForm, Dashlane, Passwarden, iPassword. I mentioned Norton, Avira, NPass. A lot of these are, really recent to 2022. Do your own research. Make sure that you trust them. Make sure that it's if somebody hacked into a password manager, they could access all the secure password information the manager has issued. Julie, we'll be talking a little bit about free password managers that you can use. Google is one that you can use Google as a password manager. Just if you use Google as a browser, and just make sure that your Google password is really strong and that you're changing them regularly. Let's talk about these 3 that I have on here. KeePass is a paid one. They do have a free trial that you can try for about 3 months. It has user key. First, let's talk about a way that a password manager works. So a password manager, you just use 1Password to log into the password manager. The password manager will make sure that you have a strong password. Your password will expire anytime between 3 weeks to 3 months, however you set it up, but they will require you to change your password for the password manager. And then every password within your password manager will be automatically generated and changed regularly by the password manager. So let's say you have your strong password that you can remember to get into your password manager when you first start up your computer. Anything that is logged in, but within there, the password manager will generate one of those numbers, just like the one Nick set up that it took 21 million years to lock, and they will change that so regularly that you don't even need to know it. It'll just change it regularly for you, so you don't have to worry about your internal passwords. You just worry about the main master password that you get to log into your password manager. A couple features of KeePass: it is software based, so you download it onto your computer, and then it can go across platforms. It can go across devices, so you can use it on your computer and your phone. It's portable. You can export it to text, to HTML. You can import from many file formats. It's got an easy database transfer. It provides you support of password groups, so it will auto-generate your password. It has time fields and entry attachments, so it will lock you out if you leave your computer unattended. It has multi-language support and strong random password generator. And the way that it's set up is it's set up as a plugin. So again, you can download it as software to your computer, so it works even if it's offline. And it just generates strong passwords. LastPass has a free version, and then it has a premium version. So some of the LastPass features are really impressive on the premium version, and if you just want to try it out, it has some really strong features as far as even just the free version. So you can check it out. It's very well trusted. They advertise themselves as an autopilot for your passwords. So once you log in, you're in. It simplifies online shopping. So it saves all your banking information and it protects it, so you can use it to bank online. And it protects it from it stores your digital records and it protects it. It protects your sharing. It sends you little reminders for digital hygiene. It generates strong passwords. And again, you just need to use your master password. There was a data breach on LastPass a few years ago. Yeah, I mean, most companies, once they reach a certain height, LastPass, it will. But again, because they're regularly changing your information and requiring you to change your information as well, that's always a strong possibility. So make sure that even if you use one of these password managers, that you're doing what they're telling you to, that you're following their requirements and their recommendations. And also, yeah, like Nick said, do your research. I've used LastPass in the past. Right now I use NordPass. And then we use a different one as an institution here at the library. But again, you got to make sure that it works for you, and you got to do your due diligence on that. So there's LastPass for free, and then premium, I believe, on LastPass is just $3 a month. 1Password is another one. 1Password, it has a browser extension version, as well as question from Julie. Is the Safe Password Manager on iPhone any good? Can it generate new passwords? Julie, I don't know. I apologize. I don't have an iPhone. I'm guessing that what it is it's just sort of like Google's, where it has a save password function. So it'll save your function. So as long as you're using your device, it will automatically log you in. Again, it's only as strong as whatever password you have to log into your device. So if you don't want those all connected, you need to make sure that you turn that function off. It should be able to generate new passwords for you. I know Google's password suite does, so like GPass does. But again, that's all done within the settings. If you want to bring it into the library during open tech tutor time, we can always work through that with you and see if we can make your device a little stronger. Or you can always contact your device support. If that's at Verizon, or if you contact AppleCare or something, they can probably walk you through that as well. As far as 1Pass features, they do autofill with password prompts. So there's a little bit of secondary safety on that. They do back and forward navigation for you. They pin and unpin. They have a redesigned lock screen. So it's a secondary lock screen. So if people are designing, things to hack proprietary stuff from Apple, from Android, they provide their own lock screen for mobile devices. They do text field improvements, icon improvements. They do really good encryption for HTTPS. So they're powered by DuckDuckGo encryption and Watchtower. They use fast mail to protect your emails. I have coworkers who use 1Pass, and they say that it's really strong. They have strong key shortcut references. And then they have the same sort of thing that LastPass, KeePass, Zoho Vault, NordPass does, where they generate random passwords for all of your accounts, and they change them regularly, and you just manage it with a master password that you change regularly as well. Any questions about password managers? Again, these are just 3 options. 3 of them that are very different. So like 1Password is both a plugin and a software. KeePass is just a plugin, or KeePass is just a software. LastPass is mostly as a plugin. Sort of like, when you save your passwords on Google or save your passwords with Apple, and then you're just accessing it with a master, but it's slightly better with the interface, and it is, has better digital hygiene recommendations. We'll send you emails, reminding you to change your password in the upcoming days. It'll force your passwords to expire, so they're changed regularly, and then it'll handle your digital safety by regularly, checking. Sometimes I know LastPass and 1Password will send you alerts if there's a website that they're like, I don't feel good about this, because they're both plugin based, that you can, it'll be checking you out while you're surfing and browsing and saying, this one's not so good. Kathy, password managers are browser specific if they're a plugin. If it's software that you download that is unique to your device, then no. But a lot of people do prefer the browser plugins because they're just so seamless. And most people, if they just use one browser, if they like most people do, most people don't jump around from like Safari to Chrome to Firefox to Explorer. I don't think Explorer is supported anymore though. I think NordPass is browser specific. Yeah, so most of these will have storage options that will or you can, if it's software specific, you can encrypt you can encrypt stuff. So like if you upload it to the storage that you get with your password manager, then yes, but you can also doubly encrypt stuff like, you know, Word documents on your device's storage, or access to things like Google Drive where you're keeping up other documents, and it just increases the strength of people's access to that information as well. That's a good question, Nick. Thanks. And then they'll generate a password for that as well, so only you can get into it. Any other questions about password managers? Any other questions about password strength, password security, password management, and access overall? I'll go ahead and I'll stop the screen share.